In a world where the color of your skin still determines how you're treated, nowhere is this more evident than in the confined spaces of modern air travel, where prejudice finds no escape route and justice has a long memory. She has drugs in her bag. The flight attendant announced to the entire first-class cabin, pointing directly at Alexandra King, the only black woman on the plane. With theatrical flair, she held up a small package like a prosecutor presenting damning evidence. "This passenger brought illegal substances onto this aircraft," she declared boldly. The humiliation was public. The accusation was loud. Passengers instantly reached for their phones, recording what would become the most viewed flight incident of the year. As airport security escorted the elegant black woman down the aisle for further investigation, Alexandra leaned close to the smirking flight attendant and whispered words that sent shivers down her spine. "You have no idea what you've just done." The flight attendant had no way of knowing she'd just framed one of the CIA's top operatives. No way of knowing that her career, her freedom, and her carefully constructed life were about to come crashing down. 12 hours before that fateful confrontation, Alexandra King was doing what she'd done for 15 years at the CIA, preparing meticulously for her mission. At 38, Alexandra had shattered every barrier placed before her: gender, race, and the old boy network of intelligence officers who never imagined a black woman from Southside Chicago would outrank them all. Alexandra wasn't just any agent, she was the newly appointed head of the CIA's Covert Aviation Security Division, handpicked by Director Harrison himself after her unprecedented success in Eastern European counterterrorism operations that saved thousands of lives but never made headlines. As she packed her carry-on that morning, her secure phone displayed Director Harrison's name. "The airline CEO has been briefed on your cover," he informed her. "No one else knows. As far as the flight crew is concerned, you're just another first-class passenger. Your real mission to identify the drug smuggling operation we've tracked to this airline remains classified at the highest level." What made Alexandra exceptional wasn't merely her analytical mind or perfect service record. It was something unteachable and almost supernatural awareness of her surroundings. Throughout her career, she consistently demonstrated an ability to notice things others missed, to sense threats before they materialized. Moving through the crowded terminal, Alexandra was already working without breaking stride. She caught a fallen child whose mother had momentarily turned away. She noted an outdated security badge on a maintenance worker. She observed the whispered conversation between two TSA agents who should have been watching the scanner. Each observation was quietly logged in her specialized phone app designed to look like social media, but actually a secure CIA documentation system. Alexandra's primary mission today: observe flight crews and identify which members were involved in moving high-value drugs across state lines using commercial aircraft. One name had been flagged in her briefing: Vanessa Miller. While Alexandra King assessed security weaknesses, flight attendant Vanessa Miller rushed through the employee entrance, flashing a practiced smile at the security guard, who noted she was late again. At 32, Vanessa projected an image of success: designer watch, perfect manicure, highlights that cost more than a car payment. But beneath the polished exterior was a woman drowning in credit card debt, bitter about being passed over for promotion, and harboring growing resentment toward the changing world around her. "First class isn't what it used to be," she muttered to her colleague Ryan after reviewing the passenger manifest, "letting just anyone with money up there these days." Ryan's uncomfortable laugh barely masked his discomfort at Vanessa's meaning. It wasn't the first time she'd made such comments, especially when seeing names that suggested passengers might be people of color. Vanessa had once believed her blonde hair, blue eyes, and picture-perfect smile would guarantee advancement. When Jasmine Taylor, a black woman with fewer years but higher customer satisfaction ratings, received the senior position Vanessa had coveted, something hardened inside her. "It's all about quotas now," she'd complain to anyone who would listen. "They just want diversity hires." What colleagues didn't know, what no one knew, was that Vanessa's resentment had evolved into something far more dangerous. 6 months ago, desperate to maintain her facade of success despite mounting debts, she'd accepted an offer from a first-class passenger. A simple transaction: move certain packages through security using her crew credentials and access. The money was good, too good to refuse. Now, in the airport bathroom before her flight, Vanessa whispered into her phone, "I told you I'll make the drop this trip. The package is secure. No, I'm not backing out. Do you know how much credit card debt I'm in? She glanced around nervously before opening her makeup bag to reveal a small vacuum-sealed package nestled among her cosmetics high-grade pharmaceuticals bound for the black market, worth thousands on the street. Worth enough to keep Vanessa's creditors at bay for another month. As Vanessa joined her crew, her mask of professionalism firmly back in place, she had no idea that today's flight would bring her face to face with someone specifically trying to see through such facades. As Alexandra settled into her first-class seat, Vanessa prepared the cabin for boarding. Alexandra's trained eyes missed nothing. She observed how Vanessa's demeanor subtly shifted when interacting with different passengers, the warm smile and attentive service for the white male CEO, friendly banter with the elderly white couple, and then the cool, barely professional acknowledgement when she reached Alexandra's seat. "Anything to drink?" The question was clipped, the customary ma'am noticeably absent. "Sparkling water, please," Alexandra replied, her voice revealing nothing of her internal assessment. When Vanessa practically dropped the drink on Alexandra's tray while carefully placing others, Alexandra made a mental note. Discrimination often reveals itself in these small, seemingly insignificant moments. But unlike most passengers, she was here specifically to document it and potentially connect it to the drug smuggling operation she was investigating. Vanessa felt Alexandra's eyes on her, that focused attention making her inexplicably nervous. When their gazes briefly met, Vanessa felt an unsettling sensation. That black woman in 3A shouldn't be on this kind of flight. "She's even the only black person here," she whispered to Ryan during pre-takeoff preparations. Ryan shushed her off. As the flight progressed, Vanessa's plan evolved. She needed to ensure her own safety, to eliminate any threat to her operation. Suddenly, a plan began forming in her mind, one that would simultaneously remove this black woman and reinforce all the racial stereotypes Vanessa privately believed. At cruising altitude, Alexandra continued her surveillance while appearing to work on her tablet. Her trained eyes missed nothing. Alexandra pressed the call button. She waited 1 minute, then 5. She watched as Vanessa walked by repeatedly, helping other passengers but ignoring Alexandra's lit button. A white man in seat 2C pressed his button. Vanessa was at his side in seconds, all smiles. "What can I get for you, sir?" "Just a scotch neat when you have a moment." "Absolutely. I'll bring that right away." The difference in treatment was stark. When Alexandra finally caught Vanessa's eye after she'd walked by a third time, the flight attendant's attitude was ice cold. "Did you need something?" Vanessa's tone was flat, and she didn't add mom as she did with other passengers. "I requested a blanket twice. It's quite cold in this section." "We've limited blankets. I'll check if there are any left." 20 more minutes passed. No blanket came. Alexandra made notes about this on her phone, keeping her face calm. This wasn't just poor service, it was precisely the kind of disparate treatment Alexandra was sent to document, along with the drug smuggling. Meanwhile, Vanessa grew increasingly nervous. The small pack of drugs hidden in her crew bag made her anxious. She was supposed to leave the package in the first-class bathroom where another passenger would retrieve it. Simple. Alexandra observed Vanessa's movements around the cabin, her shaky hands when serving drinks, her too frequent checks of her crew bag, the hushed conversations with Ryan that stopped whenever someone approached. These were the telltale signs of someone engaged in illegal activity. During a quiet moment, Alexandra watched Vanessa enter the first-class bathroom with her crew bag. She emerged 2 minutes later without the bag, then returned to retrieve it. The bag appeared less full. Alexandra knew a drug drop had occurred. Minutes later, a well-dressed man used the same bathroom. When he returned to his seat, his jacket pocket looked fuller than before. The transaction was complete, right before everyone's eyes. Alexandra had gathered enough evidence to confirm her suspicions. Vanessa wasn't merely discriminating against certain passengers, she was trafficking drugs on commercial flights. What Alexandra couldn't anticipate was how far Vanessa would go to protect herself when she felt threatened. During a lull when most passengers were watching movies or sleeping, Vanessa retreated to the galley with trembling hands. She reached into her personal locker under the service area, the one place flight attendants could keep items secure during flight. From a hidden compartment in her makeup bag, she extracted a second drug package similar to the one she'd already delivered. This was her own payment, a small amount her supplier allowed her to keep for personal sale, worth thousands on the street. But now she would use it differently. Vanessa glanced around to ensure she was alone. "Insurance policy," she whispered, slipping the small package into her apron pocket. Unknown to Vanessa, her every move was being recorded by the tiny camera in Alexandra's tie pin. The CIA employs technology far more advanced than public knowledge. As Vanessa prepared to return to the cabin, she made a decision that would destroy her career and freedom. She waited until Alexandra visited the bathroom, then approached her empty seat. Vanessa quickly surveyed the cabin. Most passengers were asleep or engrossed in their screens. Perfect. She leaned over Alexandra's vacant seat, pretending to adjust the pillow and blanket, the very blanket she had earlier refused to provide. With swift movements, Vanessa slipped the small package into Alexandra's handbag. The trap was set. Now she merely needed the right moment to discover it. When Alexandra returned from the bathroom and noticed Vanessa had her seat, the flight attendant's sudden helpfulness contrasted sharply with her previous behavior. "Just making sure you're comfortable," Vanessa said with a forced smile. Alexandra nodded, her instincts already signaling something was amiss. As she sat down, she carefully inspected her surroundings but didn't immediately detect anything out of place. Yet the hidden camera in her tie pin had captured everything. The evidence was secure. Vanessa waited 20 minutes before making her move. Alexandra sensed something had happened, but rather than confronting Vanessa immediately, she continued taking notes. This was no longer solely about uncovering drug routes, it was now about documenting an innocent person being framed. Vanessa returned to the galley and used the earphone to call the captain. "Sir, I think a passenger in first class has illegal drugs. I saw her acting strangely, and I believe we need to check her bag." The captain, following protocol for potential security threats, instructed Vanessa to proceed with assistance from the air marshal. Vanessa approached Alexandra's seat accompanied by another flight attendant and a plainclothesman, the air marshal. She spoke loudly enough for everyone in first class to hear. "Excuse me, I need to check your bag right now." Alexandra looked up from her tablet, maintaining her composure despite knowing what was coming. "May I ask why?" "We've received information about illegal items on this flight," Vanessa announced loudly. Several passengers looked up, intrigued by the unfolding drama. They began taking out phones to record the incident. "I don't consent to any search of my personal belongings," Alexandra stated calmly, aware of her rights. "This isn't a request, ma'am," the air marshal said. "Under air safety regulations, we can search any passenger's belongings if we suspect a threat to the flight." Without waiting for Alexandra's response, Vanessa seized her handbag. With feigned shock, she pulled out the small package. "What is this?" she asked loudly, holding it up for everyone to see. Passengers gasped. More phones emerged to record the scene. Alexandra remained remarkably composed, her CIA training evident in her collected demeanor. "That is not mine," she said firmly. "I have no idea how that got into my bag." "It was in your handbag," Vanessa said accusingly, with emphasis that revealed her prejudice. "Sir," she said to the air marshal, "this looks like prescription drugs being trafficked illegally." The whispers in the cabin grew louder. A woman across the aisle shook her head. "Unbelievable," she muttered, just loud enough to be heard. "And in first class, too," another passenger added. "They think money lets them get away with anything," someone else remarked. The air marshal's expression hardened. "Ma'am, I need you to come with me to the back of the plane. This is a serious matter." Alexandra maintained her composure. "I understand you have protocols to follow, but I want to be absolutely clear that I did not put that package in my bag. Someone else did." She looked directly at Vanessa, who displayed a momentary flash of doubt before adopting a mask of righteous indignation. "Are you accusing a crew member?" Vanessa asked loudly, playing to her audience of recording passengers. "That's absurd." The air marshal intervened. "Ma'am, please come with me now. We'll sort this out on the ground with the proper authorities." As Alexandra stood with dignity despite the accusing stares and whispers, she leaned close to Vanessa and murmured words that should have terrified her. "You have no idea what you've just done." Vanessa's face reflected a moment of uncertainty before returning to smug satisfaction. She had no way of knowing she had just made the worst mistake of her life. The marshal escorted Alexandra to the rear of the plane to monitor her until landing. Behind her, Alexandra could hear the whispers, the assumptions, the judgment. Can't believe they let people like that in first class. Always check who's sitting next to you when you fly. Good thing they caught her before she could sell that stuff. Each comment was saturated with racism, something Alexandra had encountered, even as she'd risen to become one of the CIA's top officers. She knew some people still thought that way. When the plane landed, airport security boarded to take Alexandra into custody. Passengers continued recording as she was escorted off the plane back straight, head high, dignity intact despite the circumstances. Not a single person on that flight realized they weren't witnessing a criminal being apprehended, but rather the initial phase of an operation that would expose a major drug trafficking network. In the terminal, Vanessa was already showing the video to fellow crew members, receiving congratulations for her vigilance. Within hours, she had uploaded an edited version to social media with the caption, "Flight attendant catches drug smuggler in first class. Watch what happens next." The video would indeed go viral, but not for the reasons Vanessa expected. Alexandra King had been wrongfully accused, publicly humiliated, and subjected to the kind of racial profiling that Black Americans face daily, but Vanessa Miller was about to learn that justice, like turbulence, can arrive when you least expect it and shake your entire world apart.